Hello Year 8, we are starting a brand new topic in our hardware and processing part of our rubric, and the section we're going to be looking at today is knowing that there is a range of operating systems and application software. In particular, we are going to be looking at operating systems today. So let's start off with a bit of think, pair, share. So I want you to have a think now about what is an operating system. So do you know anything about an operating system? So have a think about that. And then in a moment, I'm going to ask you to turn to your partner and tell them what you think, if you know anything, see if they know anything, and then we'll share. Okay, so we'll pause the video now, and you'll have a chance to talk about what is an operating system. Okay, so hopefully any good ideas are out in the room. Maybe you do know, maybe you don't. Let's see. So what is an operating system? So the best way we can show what an operating system is to show you what happens when you haven't got one. And when you have a computer without an operating system, you get this screen here, operating system not found. So a computer without an operating system does this. It does not a lot. It's pretty useless without one. So what you know of operating systems is actually what you see normally with a computer. So the most popular operating system, which is usually abbreviated to OS, is Windows. So you'll have used Windows, we use it here at school, and most PCs have got Windows on them. So you'll be really familiar with Windows and different versions and updates of Windows that you're seeing over your use of computers. There are other operating systems for PCs that you might have seen. So there's something called Linux, and Linux is a community developed operating system. So it's developed by people in the community, not by one particular company, but by lots of different people, and there are lots of different versions of Linux. We'll learn more about that in another lesson. You've also got Google Chrome operating system. So this is an operating system from the same people that make the Google search engine, Google, and it runs on PCs, and they also make Android. So that's both Google Chrome and Android operating systems are made by Google, but they're slightly different. And again, we'll learn more about those in upcoming lessons. So they're all for PCs. So a PC, short for personal computer. Most machines that you'll see with, the ones in the computer room, laptops are PCs, but you can also get Apple computers. So Apple computers are a bit different. You'll be very familiar with the iPhone, of course, but you get Apple Macs and Apple laptops and iPads, and they have their own operating systems. So they are either the Mac OS or the iOS. The Mac OS is the one that's used on laptops and computers, and iOS is on their mobile devices like the iPad or the iPhone. So when your computer's turned on, it follows something called a BIOS. That's BIOS, and stands for Basic Input Output System. And this BIOS is a set of instructions that loads on what we call boot. So when we boot the operating system, what we mean is we load the operating system. Just a bit of technical vocab. So we boot the operating system, and it loads from a device that's in the instructions of the BIOS. So you'll see here this little blue box here, and it's got first boot device, second boot device, third boot device. And so what the computer does is it goes to the location of the first boot device and it checks, is there an operating system in this area? So the first boot device on this example is the CD drive. The second boot device is the CD drive. The third boot device is a SATA, Samsung, something. That's a hard drive. So you can actually have a boot device on a CD. You can have it on a memory stick. You can have it on a hard drive. And normally it's stored on the hard drive. So the instructions will usually put the hard drive last because it checks to see if there's anything else first and then goes, right, is there one on the hard drive? When it finds it, it then boots that operating system, so it loads the operating system. Now normally this happens really quickly and you don't even see it. It checks it and it loads it before you've even seen the screen come on. So that's why you don't see the BIOS, but these are the instructions it follows. If the BIOS doesn't tell it where the hard drive, where the operating system is, it won't load it. So now you know some operating systems, and we're going to find out what they do. So basically, as you've seen, without an operating system, the computer does nothing. So with an operating system, all the things that you see and allow it to do, the operating system's got a handle on controlling and managing those. So the first thing it does is give us an interface to control the computer. So when you load up and you can see the on-screen buttons, the icons, the things that you can load, these are the interface of the computer. So the fact that you've got little icons that you can click on to open the internet or open word processors, These are things that you can open, and these use the interface. You've also got the managing of hardware and software. So you've got things like your Word and your browsers and all that sort of thing that you can open because the operating system manages it. And you've got your hardware as well, so things like CD drives when you put a USB stick in, if you've got a graphics card or you've got RAM and memory, then these are controlled by the operating system. It also manages the CPU, that's the central processing unit, and that is the brain of the computer. And it manages the computer's memory. So when you save a file, when you load a file, when you move files around, this is all done by the operating system. In fact, if you think about your File Explorer on Windows, that's the computer's memory, and that's being shown by the operating system. So our learning intention is to understand that there's a range of operating systems, and within that you've got your success criteria. So you're going to try and explain what an operating system is, give examples of different operating systems, explain the functions of an operating system, and compare the advantages of different operating systems. If you manage to complete all of that, then your extension is to write your own explanation text about operating systems. So, best of luck. There's a sheet of an explanation text to help you, and there's also a prompt sheet that you can have if you want a bit of extra help. You've got some vocab here, so you've got hardware and software. So hardware is the physical bits that make up a computer, so things like your CD drive, your memory, your RAM, the CPU is all hardware. If you can touch it, it's hardware. And you've got your software. Software are the programs on the computer, so things like your browsers, Word, Publisher, PowerPoint. These are all software, they're programs that run on the computer. Interface, that's what your screen looks like, the things that you can click on and type and interact with. And boot, remember, is the word we use to load an operating system. Okay, best of luck, and I'm looking forward to see what you do.